Hello, hello, and welcome to Movie Night, the new show here on Anorax, where we sit here and give you in-depth discussions on movies, mostly new releases, but sometimes we'll go back to classics too. Obviously, I am not Samee Ramirez, I am Dom Martino, and I am filling in for Samee Ramirez, who could not be here tonight. But she will be back next week, presumably. But yeah, I got some fun stuff to get into today, mostly, or the main topic, or the main movie that we're going to be getting into today is the new release from director Zack Snyder, Army of the Dead, which is now streaming on Netflix, or you can go see it in the movie theater, or however you would like. Before we get started today, please hit the like button below, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, and hit that bell for notifications. But yeah, we're going to spend about the next 45 minutes to an hour just kind of running through this and, giving out spoiler thoughts on the film. So if you haven't seen my non-spoiler review on the channel, basically, I love this film. That's really all there is to it. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I love Zack Snyder as a filmmaker. I mean, he did a lot of really great action things, really great character things, really great things with the zombies. I like the way that he mixed the two genres between zombie film and heist film. And I guess we'll kind of start there for this discussion about the premise of the movie, which if you see this opening, I mean, it's crazy, right? You get two military men who are out in a job, a chick and a dude just they go into this truck, they blow up, and then the military men stop, and they kind of investigate this thing, and turns out that one of their trucks has a zombie in it. And then this whole outbreak spreads. It's a whole chaotic opening, and I really loved it. Kind of took me back to the days of Spielberg with Jurassic Park and the way that he kind of opened his movies. A lot of the pacing of this film too did remind me of that Jurassic Park type thing. I'm not saying it's as good as the original Jurassic Park, because it's not, but it just kind of reminded me of that, in the way that the film was structured, the way it was paced. I really enjoyed all of that. I thought that stuff worked very, very well. But yeah, let's kind of talk about this opening sequence too, or the opening credits, which is really where our story's being told. Obviously, the zombie outbreak happened across Las Vegas. There's a lot of really kind of funny things, I mean, happening here, and we see, the naked zombie women kind of running through Vegas, but a lot of crazy ass shit going on too. I mean, a lot of story happening right here in the opening credits, where they're kind of showing you what happened to, Dave Bautista's character, who is Scott Ward in this film, and, how he, lost a ton of people. And again, this is spoilers, guys. Just one more time, want to give you that warning. We are going in heavy. Yeah, but I like the music cues, the needle drops, as people call them. I mean, the, Viva Las Vegas. I mean, Snyder loves his Elvis. He definitely got some Elvis in this film. I think right at the beginning there. And then this version's not by Elvis, but it's still the Viva Las Vegas song. So I really enjoyed the opening sequence a lot. I mean, I thought that was definitely one of the highlights here. And the pink lettering, and you just kind of know what this movie's going to be. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be a lot of drama and stuff like that. You see some dramatic acting from Dave Bautista's character, again, Scott Ward, just right here from the get-go. You see that he was, kind of a big part in, fighting off the zombies, and they kind of border off a side of Vegas, and then they kind of set a camp up on the other side for people who are, homeless and things like that. And it's just a really interesting dynamic that was set up right from the get-go. A lot of people aren't going to dig the storytelling element, the visual storytelling element from the opening credits, and I get that, and that's fine. I just think that Snyder excels at that shit. He is definitely a visual storyteller by nature, and I think that that's where he belongs, and that's, the shit he should be doing. I really dug that a lot about this. But I mean, right, we beat Batista's daughter pretty early on as well. Ella Purnell is the actress, and she plays Kate Ward, and I think that she really excels in this film as well. I mean, one of the dynamics that we get is the one gentleman who is played by Theo Rossi, Bert. He kind of comes in here, and he's no, I'm sorry. I think I'm getting the wrong gentleman here. Am I? Let's see. Yeah, no. I'm sorry. Theo Rossi. I was right that first time. Who plays Bert, and he is the guy that comes in and he's like testing out people at the camps. You see that the daughter is a help to the camp, but we don't really know it's Batista's daughter right from the get-go, right? It takes time throughout the film to really get that figured out, and then once we realize that, you're like, oh, I'm starting to connect some dots. But I like the flashback sequences as well, where they kind of show and explain that a little bit, that like, okay, Batista's wife turned into a zombie, and his daughter had to watch him kill his wife by shoving this knife through her head, and it was just a really crazy experience to watch, and very great, again, dramatic acting from Dave Bautista that I wasn't expecting all throughout the film, really. But we find out that Scott is flipping burgers, and this guy comes in and he's like, there's some money that's basically like it's basically unreachable for the government at this point, right? So because of the location that it's at, and it's kind of like they kind of forgot about it, right? So it's 50 million or something like that, and then you can go get it and bring it back, and we'll give you a pretty good cut of that. And so like he's like, I want you to put together the team, and then I one of the funny things too, when he's going around and getting the team together, he keeps offering them each like a lower amount of money. I thought that was a really funny aspect. Like he doesn't want to pay them all the same amount. Obviously, he's a businessman in this case, so he keeps offering them like a lower amount of money. I really dug that element, just that detail that was added to that. But he's not close with his daughter though. He, of course, like his daughter Kate, has kind of just basically what's the word I'm looking for here, like he's dead to her, not dead to her, but he's definitely not somebody she associates with anymore because of the events that happened earlier on in the film. I mean, okay, so we get this, we start to get this team going. We got Maria Cruz, who's played by Ana de la Reguera. I apologize if I'm butchering that name, but she is like a friend. We saw her in the beginning kind of helping them fight zombies, so they kind of know each other from that, but they were kind of leaving that life behind, and he's like, hey, I got this job, and so they kind of go off of that. I mean, we got some real cool characters in here. I mean, we get Omari Hardwick as well, or I'm sorry, yeah, Omari Hardwick coming in as a Vanderoe, and he's kind of like the muscle, right? I mean, he's in a lot of ways he kind of comes in and as this like muscle character, but all this money, it's in this safe. So we get this German fella, Matthias Schleifhofer is the actor. Schleifhofer, Matthias Schleifhofer. He's hysterical in this movie, so I feel really bad for butchering his name for that reason. But he plays Dieter. He's the safe cracker, and so they go in and they are very. I mean, he's very like reluctant, against like the whole business of killing zombies. He's very scared to go across. He's like, what am I gonna use, and all that kind of stuff. So I enjoyed that as well. We get some other characters. I mean, the Nora Arnezeder character is interesting. She kind of comes into it later, but she knows like a lot about the zombies that are on the other side of the wall, so that's that's a pretty cool dynamic to have her in there. And then you have Tig Notaro, who last minute replaced Crystalia, but she's playing the character of Marianne, and she's like the helicopter flyer, and that's one of the gripes in this movie that I can't help but to agree with. It's like, how did they think they were going to get on the helicopter with all the weight anyway, with all the money, and it just felt a little like it could take you out of the moment a little bit. But I enjoyed Tig Taro's character nonetheless in this film. I thought she was funny. I liked her whole like attire and dynamic, and her smoking the cigars. Like I found something to be hysterical about that. But I thought she did a really great job in the role that she had to play, and especially filling the shoes of Crystalia, who got removed from the film after sexual harassment accusations. Let's see. I mean, they got this boss though, right? The character Scott does not like. He's played by Hiroyuki Sanada, and he is the guy who kind of hires him. And his name in the film is, let me see here if I can find this. Bly Tanaka is the character's name. Pretty cool name too, by the way, for like this villainous like mob boss type deal. Where, but he's the one who wants to get this team together, and then you have Garrett Dillahunt, who plays Marty in the film, and he's kind of working with the he kind of works with Bly Tanaka, and he's like his associate, and he's like, okay, you got to go on the mission with them, make sure that they get the job done. And there are just so many really cool moments that happens once the team gets across. But the daughter is kind of taking care of this lady that gets set up in the beginning, where like I was saying, how the Burke character kind of came in and he's testing out her friend, and he's like, it looks like you might be infected, but you're not, so you're good to go. Like you're still in that window where we don't have to like take you in or whatever. And so the daughter, who's separated from her father again, is like taking care of her and her kids, and so she goes across the wall to get like resources or to try to find a better life. And this is kind of how we meet the Lily character. Lily kind of takes her across the wall, and then the daughter finds out about that, and she's like, oh hey, she got lost over there, so she talks Dave Bautista, or the character of Scott, into taking her across this wall, which I again, like I said this in my non-spoiler version or review. I feel like this movie, if you look at it as like about the zombies or about the team or whatever, you're probably not gonna have a good time with it. You'll find out later here why in the spoiler review, obviously, as I go through it. But it really is about this father-daughter relationship. At the core of this, zombie heist film, it's about the father-daughter relationship, and I think that that's the part that Snyder was trying to get across here, which again, I think he did a really good job with. I think that stuff, it's really hot, really works. Quite a bit, but then the two characters I really want to highlight that end up joining the team, that is Mikey, and let me see if I can find the name of her. Mikey, and let's see here, I will find her. Mikey and Jita, who are like these YouTube stars who they go around, they kill zombies, and they are, like, to me, like some of the most fun in the film. I like how down they are to just do the job. They just want to get good footage for their YouTube channel and things like that. So it's really kind of a fun thing. But anyway, so lo and behold, they get over the wall, and there's these two frightening looking zombies right off the bat, which that's one of the things that stands out to me about this movie, is that the zombie designs are actually pretty fucking scary, and I really enjoyed that about it. But and so the tensions are high right off the bat, because they are freaky, the zombies. They seem pretty scary, and we find out about the zombie tiger, who they mentioned, by the way, this was funny to me, they had to mention that was one of Siegfried and Roy's tigers. Like, I thought that was kind of a fun element that was added to the movie. But yeah, I mean, the highlight of that is, obviously the Lily character telling them, hey, this is, what we need to do, and she basically takes, oh man, I can't remember which character she takes, but she uses him as like a human sacrifice. I can't remember which character for whatever reason. Oh, you know who it is? It's the Burke character. It's the Burke character. She takes and ties him up. She's like, this is our human sacrifice. And the zombies, they do take him as like a human sacrifice. And we, one of the things I like about it is that we do really see the inner workings of the zombies. Like, we see their lair, their base, or whatever, and I think that it just adds so much more to it. So it's really interesting what's going on, because the zombies become characters as themselves, because we do spend time with them alone, and they kind of explain the ranks of them, and that's pretty cool as well. So As one zombie's like the queen of them, and then the other zombie's like the king, and it really does feel like a full-blown army with different layers and levels to it, and I really like that. I really think that it was just so fitting to the title, Army of the Dead. um but we could talk about highlights here. I mean, the first place they go into to try to get to this safe, I mean, they get infiltrated essentially. I mean, there's these sleeping zombies, which was one of the things I thought was cool, and then the character Jita is kind of going through shooting up all these zombies, and I was watching the scene like, oh my god, this that scene was incredible to me, like the visually, and just how long it went, like, and the way that she was just blasting zombies left and right. It was cool. Like, it was fucking cool. And the fact that it all looked in frame, and that she was doing her own stunts, and that stuff was super super dope. I really enjoyed that about it for sure. Let me see if I can find this actress's name. Huma Qureshi, I believe, is the one that plays Jita, who dies very early on, unfortunately. But one of the things that I thought was cool is, like, she's about to die, but they all have these gas tanks on, and that's another thing I want to point out here is the weapons that they used were super cool. I mean, you got all different types. I mean, you got this, like, I forgot what kind of saw they call that, but it's the one that's oh god, I think it's Mikey ends up carrying it, or Mikey tries to carry it, or maybe it's Bert. Bert tries to carry it, and then Mari Hardwick's character ends up, like, I think, using it, but. Right, because Mikey actually, he uses the guns along with Jita, right? So Jita's dying, and, like, this movie's super gory all the way through. By the way, like, super bloody, super gory. It's a bloodbath all the way through. It's kind of hard to describe everything that's going on here, but as she's dying, this is one of the moments I thought that was dope, because first of all, I was like, oh man, because I really like that character, so that was one of the things that really upset me right from the get-go. Like, I felt the tragedy, and I was starting to feel the stakes. I'm like, okay, so anybody can die, Zack Snyder, right? Like, Zack Snyder's sending the audience that message. Anybody can die at any time. Get ready for this. This is high stakes here. I mean, so she's dying, and she's got this gas tank. A couple of them were carrying gas tanks. She was one of them. And Mikey takes the gun, he shoots the bullet right through the gas tank, just to blow up all the zombies that kind of pile up on her. I just thought that was super dope. So let's talk about the safe cracking scene too, that comes in, because when we finally get to the safe, I'm just kind of running through highlights again, and kind of breaking down spoilers that way for everybody here. But when we get around to, like, the actual safe cracking, I think that this stuff is extremely fun as well. So there's a couple, like, there's something new here that I got to see that I really enjoyed, that we haven't really seen in zombie films before. Is that, like, the safe, there's all these booby traps, right? So the German character, I can't remember his, Dieter, I believe, Dieter, is he's telling him, hey, the safe is it's got booby traps, so we don't we don't want to cross it. You don't want to cross the floorboards, because if you hit the floorboards, then that sets off the booby trap. So they're like, okay, what do we do? I've never seen this before, but they go and just grab these other zombies from that, like, that it looked like they were staff in that building at one point in time. And the Amari Hardwick's character, like, straps him to this, like, gurney thing, and he starts rolling them through, and then he just, like, he's just letting all the zombies die with each booby trap. Oh my gosh, I love this. It was just so funny the way it was delivered. And then finally, when the doors, like, shut on the one zombie, that was pretty cool. He's kind of talking about this interesting concept too, about Amari Hardwick's character, because they do show all these dead bodies that did try to get to the safe, and never were able to make it, essentially. So he's looking at that, and my question was, because they have this conversation about, we're on an infinite time loop, what if we are? And it was just a really interesting subject for him to bring up, because I almost feel like one of the messages that maybe Snyder's trying to send across, and I'll explain this later, is that maybe we are on an infinite, maybe that's how, like, the zombies feel, is that they're in an infinite time loop of their mission, like they're reborn to do whatever it is they were set out to do again. I know it's, like, a weird feeling, but, like, I don't know, it just really made me think a lot, so I was really interested in that line there. But so they finally they crack the safe open. I mean, the part where, the again, like I said, when the zombie gets crushed, hysterical. They crack the safe open, and then they the daughter's missing. She's gone off to find her buddy again. So that's that kind of sucked. She gets stuck in this car, and then Batista's just like, hey, where's my daughter? And we get treated to, I think, the best zombie action I've ever seen in my life. It goes on and on and on, and I mean that in a great freaking way. Like, it really does. It's just, it's just such a long, nice zombie action scene. Maybe you could have cut little bits and pieces out of it for runtime purposes, but I think for the most part, I love living in these moments. And Dieter actually ends up saving the Omari Hardwick character, because he becomes like this zombie killer. Like, turns out he's really good at it, right? And so he ends up saving that character, and he throws him in the safe. And then we just have to assume that Dieter dies. We don't really see a body. Yeah, and I mean, this action does go on for a long, long time, but basically what, the result of it is, I mean, everybody just dies. It really is, like, everybody except for, like, Batista, and then, obviously, Tig Notario's character, who's sitting up there in the helicopter, and the daughter who's going to get her friend. So the daughter, goes to get her friend out. I mean, the way that there's a sequence. I wanted to explain this. This is where Mikey dies too. The sequence in the casino is unbelievable. That happens as well when they're finally trying to escape, and they have to go through the casino. Wow. When zombie heads were just like exploding left and right because they were just getting shot off, I was just like, oh my god. It was just unbelievably cool. And just, I tell you guys, if you've seen the movie, and I hope you have, if you're watching the spoiler review on it, if you haven't, and when you see it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about and why I'm so, like, caught up in this. Like, I just thought it was amazing. Just super duper cool. Great stuff. I mean, the performances again, Batista does some stuff. I mean, the moves where they're just throwing zombies up against the walls, and like zombies are fighting them and throwing them against the walls. I mean, you get a lot of that stuff too. That's super cool, and it's just zombie fucking fun. You know what I mean? It's like incredible action sequence after incredible action sequence after incredible action sequence, and again, we know the mission. You know what I mean? We know the characters are there because they each have a skill that they're good at, and they needed the money. So it's it really just does kind of take me back to the days of I always bring the movie up every time I talk on here, I swear, but Star Wars: A New Hope, where you got these kind of like ride-alongs, like a Han Solo figure, but he just had that charisma going for him, that we didn't know much about him other than he was in it for the money, and he had that charisma about him, but he also has to, he finds himself having to get involved in the action, and some of these like tag-along characters just reminded me of that, where they were just so charismatic and just had to get involved in the action. They kind of got themselves caught in it, just because they wanted to go on this job where they required a lot of money, and that's just amazing storytelling to me in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, it just feels nonstop with the deaths. The everybody dies except for Batista, Tig Notaro, the daughter, and the friend at this point, and it was just like, yeah, it really just felt like anybody could die at any time, anything can happen at any time. So you just, again, really, really felt the stakes in all of the moments. So that was just super duper cool. I'm trying to think of anything big that I was missing along the way, though. So I'm trying to think back here a little bit if I'm missing anything that was like incredibly massive, and I'm not sure. Oh yes. So we did have this thing going on the outside of everything, and this was cool because it allowed me to personally like sympathize with the zombies a little bit more, where we see a pregnant zombie, and this is all done through visual storytelling again, because the guy, they finally kill the queen, and the guy just he listens to her belly, and you just know that there's something going on there, and it turns out that she's pregnant, and they had this like design of like the zombie baby, which is like this blue like little fetus, and it's like a neon blue though. It was was really interesting how Snyder decided to go about the look of that. But I thought it was cool, unique, new, just felt very fresh, made the movie feel more fresh when we were kind of looking at that. So was really thrilled about that as well. And then, all the zombies are pissed at this point because she was supposed to, like, I guess, pass on the torch to, I mean, this is how they, kind of multiply or whatever. I don't know, but it was just really interesting to see that all the zombies are just this upset over this one fetus. Kind of makes me want to, study more of the zombie lore, a little bit, and I really enjoyed that. So they're pissed off, and we get, again, like, we get some really great, like, house sequences with Batista, and his buddy finally dies too. Like, everybody dies. Oh, that was one of the crazy twists. They're in the room, and he's talking to his girlfriend, I guess, and they're kind of having this, they're kind of flirting, and they're like, let's take the money, let's get out of here, let's do this, and then a zombie just comes up and twists her head, like, all the way around. I was like, oh my god, because you just feel the tragedy when these characters die, because they it's like their mission's failing in a lot of ways. But again, when you get to the heart of what this movie's truly about, which is, just the father-daughter dynamic in here, and, the father's redemption, Dave Bautista's character, Scott, you just start to, like, forget about that, in my opinion, or for me. And I know, again, a lot of people don't like the way that this movie goes, because they're like, okay, the characters, didn't have, like, these individual backstories to each of them necessarily. They all just had their own in particular set of skills, and we're kind of brought in that way. And, like, heist, and I've heard people say heist movies are supposed to have, their own sort of individual characters, and I don't believe that. I think Snyder was trying to do something new with it, or just go against the grain of it. And I think that, for people to say that a heist movie is supposed to be this way, to me, is wrong. And I was kind of talking about this on my non-spoiler review as well, but I just don't like, especially as a content creator, I don't like when something changes or somebody tries to do something new or different, that people just get angry and they yell, because I've heard that too. A lot of the reaction to this movie is just people getting mad and angry, is like, zombie movies aren't supposed to be like that, this, and heist movies aren't supposed to go this way. It's like, nobody has made that a hard and fast rule. Like, because we've seen recycled shit over and over and over again, you kind of, that's why it's in your head, that it's supposed to go that way. But somebody's trying to do something new, that's why you're feeling discomfort. So if you don't like it, or instead of just, like, being like, hey, it was supposed to be this way, or I want it to be this way, you suck, Zack Snyder, instead of doing that, be constructive, hop online, hop into the comment section, the review section of the movies on IMDb or wherever, Rotten Tomatoes, wherever you're going to go write your review out, and be like, okay, I think these new ideas, I respect that they're trying to take a new direction and go in a new way with it, but I would respect it better if, next time somebody tries to execute this idea, they do it this way, that way, you know what I mean? I think it would have worked better that way. So that way, hopefully filmmakers improve, the new generation of filmmakers can come in, take all that in just from reading reviews, and it actually helps them, it helps the new generation of filmmakers out a lot better to execute what they want to do, differently, and all that kind of stuff. So, that was a point I was trying to make earlier, again, on my non-spoiler version of this. So I just wanted to bring it up again, but but getting, into, like, the finale of this movie. Again, we got 4 characters who are alive. Dave Bautista, his daughter, friend, and Tig Notaro. So they get up on the helicopter, and this was another super cool thing I've never seen in, like, a zombie be able to do, is when they're flying away in the helicopter and the one zombie just runs off the roof. We've seen it in action movies 100 times, don't get me wrong, but, like, to see a zombie do it was just super cool and interesting. And there's this whole zombie fight in the helicopter, and then, like, I believe the daughter, we see Dave Bautista get bit, so we know he's going to be affected. Like, it's inevitable, like, at this point, because that's just how, that's, like, the rule, in my opinion, of zombie movies, is, like, it's inevitable if you get bitten. But I was thinking, what, this movie's gone against the grain in so many different ways. Maybe Snyder will find a way to execute it to where we believe that somehow he didn't get affected, or somehow he'd be immune. I thought that'd be the direction he would have went. But no, I mean the daughter accidentally shoots Tignataro's character, which I'm like, oh my god, you know. So it's really going all over the place. The helicopter sequence is crazy, and when the helicopter's going down, it's just like bouncing off the ground essentially, and it kind of goes black. The daughter does finally shoot the zombie, so the zombie does die in the so it goes kind of black, fades to black, which I always like that, in crash sequences. I think it's a really cool tool to utilize that fade to black. But yeah, so you get that, and then the daughter wakes up, and then, she kind of goes around, and Tignataro's dead, her friend's dead, like everybody just died in that crash. Then she goes over, she finds out Dave Bautista's still living, barely, still kind of barely hanging on. I found this scene to just be so emotional the way it was acted, and it turns out Bautista did sneak, some money away, um, in his little sack, and he gives it to the daughter. He says, go to college, which is something that he was kind of talking about with her throughout the film. That was another thing that happened is they had a conversation prior about him opening up a food stand and her going to college and doing better for the world and things like that with the money. And I think he makes a joke as he's kind of sitting there about to be infected. He says like something about tofu. Tofu's going to be the truck. She kind of laughs, but it's very bittersweet because he tells her, he's like, I have to die, and I think that this is just like incredibly emotional when she has to shoot her own father. I have to die or I'm going to be a threat, essentially. And that was the other dynamic that was happening too, is that I see there was a lot of different layers to this, but I really enjoyed it. It's to where Las Vegas was setting it up to where they were going to nuke the other side of the wall and get rid of all the zombies, so they had to get out of there in a certain amount of time. So that was another thing that added stakes to this. So super cool thing that I really enjoyed. Anyway, so they're out of there, right? And then, Las Vegas gets nuked like last minute, but, Batista would have been like the last like living zombie at that point then. So daughter shoots him, stops the spread, so to speak. And, when Emerald, what's her name? Emerald Purnell or something like that. Let me find that out again. Maybe I don't remember the actress's name. Purnell Emerald or Ella Purnell, I'm sorry. When she breaks down with that emotion, though, that was just incredible acting, just wonderful stuff, and just really made me feel it. And then we get this sadness kind of playing, and the song, it's the zombie song, but the tone of the music just fit the vibe of the scene so well, you know what I mean? It's the song Zombie, though. And so, I mean, obviously it's on the nose, but again, I just thought the tone of the music just fit the scene so well and everything that was going on. She kind of walks off into the sunset, so you're like, okay, where's this going to go? And of course, we get this extra little nugget on because you see Amari Hardwick's character kind of come up out of the safe, you know what I mean? And you're like, oh yeah, that's right. He was kind of locked in the safe, and really, really dug that they kind of left that open. And him, coming out of the safe, he gets a flight to Mexico, and so he's flying out with these two stewardess, and he goes over to the well, one of the things I want to point out here, and I want to know how the audience took this, because he mentions Joseph Campbell. Obviously Joseph Campbell's behind the hero's journey and stuff, and George Lucas used to read Joseph Campbell, and that's kind of how he got the idea of how to structure Star Wars. And I almost wonder if Zack Snyder just kind of put that in there to piss people off, because this kind of really went against the grain of what your typical hero's journey is. But on the same hand, I can kind of see why he would have wanted to have a Joseph Campbell quote in there, as well. So that was one of the things when he's toasting with the waitresses, he throws out the name Joseph Campbell. I feel like Snyder was like, yeah, I'll piss people off, I know, but I like Joseph Campbell and I want to quote him in my movie, and I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too far into it. Maybe it was just a cool quote that Snyder liked and just put in the movie because he liked it. I don't know. But it did definitely go against the grain of a hero's journey, which is, something Joseph Campbell kind of came up with. And again, the thing that Lucas mainly used to structure Star Wars. So it was just interesting. But anyway, so he goes on and he makes a toast, and then he goes into the bathroom. He's feeling like sick, and you're like, oh God. And then turns out he got bit. Which I want to go back in this movie and rewind and see if it's subtly in there, we can see him get bit. But yeah, he did get bit at some point during all the chaos, which is totally believable. Omari Hardwick's character did get bit because he was dealing with a lot of different zombies. He was in this fight at this one point that was one-on-one where he was getting thrown up against the walls and on the floor. It was crazy. So of course he got bit. It's very believable to me, but I would like to go back and do like, moment by moment, just to see if I can see him get bit. Maybe it's just in there very ever so subtly, kind of snuck in there. But yeah, anyway, so he finds out that he got bit, and then you see it, and I think he says, "Oh fuck" or something, and like the credits roll. I love this movie. I do, guys. I want to go back and analyze like some of the shots and stuff a little bit better at some point too, just to kind of see that again. But of Snyder's movies, I mean, that's something that we could take this conversation to, just for about the next maybe 5 minutes or so. Is Zack Snyder's career so far to me has been great. I mean, I love watching him, get better, trying new things. Sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. But, I mean, we're talking about a guy who started with Dawn of the Dead, which I have a spoiler up on the channel for that as well. I did that to prep for this one. Starts with Dawn of the Dead, moves into 300, then Watchmen, which I still think is his magnum opus, is Watchmen. Although all three of those films are just fantastic. I just love the way that he adapted the Watchmen graphic novel. As a fan of it myself, and somebody who's read it a couple times, I really like the way he adapted the Watchmen graphic novel. Thought he did a great job. Definitely recommend the Ultimate Edition on that one, though. Zack Snyder's Ultimate Edition is the way to go. Ultimate Cut, I think, is what it is. And you get him, going to Batman v Superman, or I'm sorry, he does Man of Steel, starts working for DC, right? So he does Man of Steel, which I still love Man of Steel myself. I know some people have differing opinions on that, but to take Superman and make him more vulnerable and give us a different Superman, a Superman that can get hurt a little bit more, and make a more humanized Superman. I think that was the goal of Man of Steel, which was a great thing. And then he made Batman v Superman, which, wasn't a hit at all, unfortunately got received very poorly. But, he comes out with his Ultimate Cut, and a lot of people were like, oh, I love this version. Myself included. I love the Ultimate Cut of Batman v Superman. That's the version I recommended that one too, because turns out the studio interfered a lot with his original vision for Batman v Superman. So when you see how much less of a mess it was in that 3-hour Ultimate Cut, you're like, oh, okay, now I see it, I get it. So then you move into Justice League, which he got screwed on, right? I mean, his daughter, which, oh, by the way, I did kind of miss Sucker Punch and the Guardian movie, the Owl one. I've never actually seen Legends of the Guardians. I believe that's the Owl movie he did. But I have seen Sucker Punch. Not a fan of Sucker Punch myself. Just throwing that out there. That's the one big misstep for Zack Snyder. Just, I respect the creative choices, just didn't work for me, but anyway, that's the one to me big misstep, and most people do not like Sucker Punch. But anyway, so moving on a little bit here again, or going back to Justice League, he got screwed. His daughter committed suicide. He had to go take care of a family tragedy and take an absence from Justice League, and they brought in Joss Whedon, right, who fucked up the movie, as we know now. Really, I mean, he really did. I mean, he came in and messed the movie up, and they were like, oh, we're gonna bring in Joss to finish your movie, Zach, don't worry, we got it covered. And they just messed up his entire vision for what that was supposed to be, in the midst of him taking a leave of absence, for his tragedy that had taken place in his family. So him moving on, or him finally being able to get Zack Snyder's Justice League out earlier this year, and then finally letting him release his cut of the film, was an amazing thing to see. It's far improved from the, first Justice League, and it ended up being my personal favorite comic book film of all time. It was incredible. It's the most well-rounded comic book movie I've ever seen, and it was just it was masterful. It was masterful. Well, maybe Watchmen tops it, but now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Zack Snyder's Justice League really threw me for a loop. I'm gonna have to really think about that. I got like Watchmen, Joker, and Zack Snyder's Justice League in my top 3, but earlier this year when we got that was such a treat, and it was just an emotional thing, and was really happy to finally see his full vision for what that was, that full 4-hour cut of his original vision of Justice League. Fantastic. It was just such a great flick, and I hope we get more. Snyder says sometimes the fans can get it done and stuff. He's still kind of going on that, and maybe we will get more DC stuff from Zack Snyder. But if we don't, watching Army of the Dead put some confidence in me and put faith in, gave me faith that, whatever he does next, I'm still just going to keep loving, and I'm just going to keep faith in this man. And he's one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. It's just been validated this year to me that I think he's one of the greatest. He continues to take chances and try new things, and I really respect that about him. And I think he seems like a really cool, wonderful dude as well. So I root for Zack Snyder. I know some people out there just really don't like Zack Snyder, and that's fine. You don't like his style of filmmaking, I get it. But I root for him. I think he's a really wonderful dude. So it was just great to see Army of the Dead and his second zombie feature. So that was pretty cool as well. But yeah, Army of the Dead, guys, it's great. You can find it on Netflix. If you've seen the film, let me know what you think of it. If you plan to watch it and watch the spoiler review, and I motivated you to watch it, let me know that as well. I mean, I really hope you guys do go check it out and get the same experience hopefully out of it that I did. I know some people haven't already, and that's fine. It's been pretty mixed on the reviews so far. I'm just on the side that loves it, so been kind of divisive on it. So really enjoyed it. Thought it was one of the better zombie flicks I've ever seen, for sure. Not my favorite, but one of the better ones. It's up at the top of the list, or toward the top of the list for zombie movies. Now, which one do I like better? Dawn of the Dead or this one? I know that's like the $1 million question. For me, I'm gonna be honest, it's this one. I could see myself popping this one on and just having more fun with it at any point in time. I think it's only slightly better than Dawn of the Dead. That being said, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead is great. But George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead obviously trumps both movies. I love George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead, but this one just felt more like Snyder's original take on a zombie film, and I think that's why I latched onto this one a little bit more than his version of Dawn of the Dead. So I would go with this one probably. I really liked Army of the Dead. Had so much fun with it. I just like the risk taking to have a zombie film with such strong character development where you can also sympathize with the zombies and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, just a great time of a movie, guys. Great time of a flick. So I know you guys have probably noticed up on top of my head here, we do have a merch store now. So please make sure you go over to merch.streamelements.com/Animax and grab some of that. We got some really, hopefully great stuff over there for you guys. I hope you guys really enjoy that a lot. And I know a couple of you already have bought it. When you get your merch in, definitely let me know, or DM me on Instagram or tweet me, and, let me know, what you think of the merch if you do order it, because it's much appreciated. It helps us out quite a bit, helps us grow the content, get better gear, throw out some marketing campaigns and things like that. So I mean, just anything you can do definitely helps for that. So really happy to host this episode of Movie Night talking about Army of the Dead. I would give it a rush out and see. That's going to be my rating for this. Rush out and see it. So yeah, that's for sure. And again, it's on Netflix, so if you need to stream it there, great, do that. So yeah, guys, Samee Ramirez was obviously sorry she couldn't be here today, but she'll be back next week. So thank you for being patient while I tried to do this by myself. Was gonna try to get a co-host, couldn't really find one, unfortunately, to do one with me. A lot of the people that I would have liked to had, in on this one, really hadn't actually seen the film yet. So they hadn't had a chance to put it on by the time I was doing this, so it was just kind of tough to get people in on this one, unfortunately. But again, it'll be Sammy and I on the show probably next week. So yeah, can't wait to do that. And next week is actually going to be Quiet Place 2, which I'm super excited for. So look forward to that on Movie Night next week. I'm very excited to talk about that as well. Also, the Movie Night podcast here is on Spotify now, so make sure you go over to Spotify. I'll try to link that in the description below for everybody. So that's been a really cool way to get across to everybody as well. So make sure you head over there and rate and review. Follow the podcast, the Interax Entertainment podcast feed, and rate and review. Also, check out our other shows that we got going on. I've been doing some shorter versions of reviews on the Dom's Corner, so check that out. And then also we have the NRX Entertainment Podcast, which usually is with me, myself, Samee Ramirez, and Cisco Scartozzi, and we talk about movie news and all sorts of stuff. That's also on the NRX Entertainment Podcast feed over on Spotify, so be sure to check that out as well. So before I go here today, guys, last thing I want to say is, again, let me know what you thought of Army of the Dead in the comments, and definitely, if you check this out while I was spoiling it, let me know what you thought of this review and all that kind of stuff, and really appreciate all the support, guys. It's been really fun on this new adventure with this podcast, so thank you so much as always for tuning in today. Please, last thing, like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, and hit that bell for notifications. I've been Dom Martino. Samee Ramirez will be back for next week to talk about Quiet Place 2, and hope everybody has a good night. Later.